Hello everyone, welcome to Slipjoint Sawyer. Today I'm going to do an open tag response to my good friend John over at Thrifty Kniffy's open tag, and that is Super Sack Saturday. Sew a Swiss Army knife on a Saturday, and that's what we're going to do exactly here today. And this one was picked up as well from my good friend Dan over at Blade Bridge Customs. I'll put the link to his website and his Instagram in the description. He's got some fantastic stuff coming out, older pieces, vintage knives, with some customs mixed in as well, so make sure you're checking him out. Anyway, on with today's video. This is an exciting one I'm looking forward to since I got the knife. We're going to be looking at a vintage 1960s Fieldmaster. So it's a 91mm in total length, which is about 3.6 inches closed. We have the wonderful red Celador scales with the inlay Victorinox shield on here. And this one has been refurbished by Dan himself, and he's done a fantastic job with it. He's polished up all the scales and they're looking near new. Obviously, there's going to be some wear, being from the 60s and it being an older piece. It has been used and pre-loved. So we have the standard scale tool on the front. We have the tweezers. And then we have that wonderful red, vibrant Celador scale on the back as well, with the toothpick in there. Still in pretty good condition for an older toothpick. We have the keyring on there as well. The back tool layers then, we have the punch, or the reamer, or awl, whatever you want to call it, with, you'll notice there is no sewing eye on there. And something else that's really interesting about the older pieces, we have the square Phillips screwdriver on the back here, so it fits in line with the angles of the knife. You can see that on there, really great. And then if I turn it round, you'll see that this one actually features a nail file on the back there as well. I think that's pretty cool. And then that fits closely into the scale here. So, the file's not open, collecting crud, anything like that. But you can see that 3D Phillips screwdriver there. And that's something that's really sort of unique. I wish they would bring something back like that. I know on the Compact and a couple of other models, they have put the nail file on the back of the parcel hook, which you'll notice is not existent in this model because it wasn't out when this was released. But that's something that's really cool. I wish they would bring that back for maybe like the Tinkers and the Super Tinkers. Those want that sort of line. I think that would really benefit on those models. On the front then, we have the standard sort of opening layer. We have the tin opener, or the can opener, really nicely refurbished there by Dan. Nice little edge on there. Still have the wonderful Victorinox finish though, with the tumbled sort of polished finish. Nice clean nail neck. It's really small, sort of, I think that's about 3mm. Small flathead on there. You see on the back as well of that can opener how that works, is it sits slightly below the top side here, and you can just work your way around the can. Of course, that's not on any sort of half stop, and I will say for the age of this knife, the action and everything is absolutely fantastic. Left hand side then, we have the cap lifter with the wire bender and the larger flathead screwdriver, and of course this being an older one, you'll notice there is no half stop on this. Now, I couldn't really find any information on this. I'm not sure if whoever, the original owner, put this sort of wire stripper in here. It looks like they probably have. It doesn't look factory. But it's got a nice little edge on it, and you could definitely strip a wire with it. But I think that is a modification done by someone else based on how it's done. Not saying it's bad, it's just it doesn't go all the way to the edge of the cap lifter. But still in pretty good condition. Love that it's been used, and someone's actually made a modification, which I think as well, which is fantastic. Nice clean nail neck again. The larger flathead screwdriver, which is about 4 or 5mm, maybe even 6. As I mentioned, the wire bender, and of course that finish that I love on the Victorinox knives. You can see this has definitely had a lot of use as maybe as a pry bar as well. You can use these as a pry bar, but remember they are pinned, so you don't want to put too much torque when you're using it, or you might sort of create blade play, or could even pop the pin off, which you don't want to do. But for light tasks, I would sort of put my thumb on the top here and forefinger underneath, and you can definitely pry something like that. Next up, we have the scissors, and being an older model, these still have the screw. So you do have to be careful with these if you're using it, that the screw doesn't unwind itself and fall out, because they do run on the thread. So you notice when it's closed, there's no wobble, but if you open it all the way up, you can see there is a bit of play. But fantastic scissors. It's nice to see that the Victorinox scissors haven't changed really at all in the whole time frame. All they've done is gone to making this, like a peened over pivot. So, there's no chance of it coming loose. It's just sort of one pin holding it together, but the spring is identical to what they use now. Nice edge been put on these scissors as well. You can see there is use on these. They've got scratches all over them, which honestly, when I'm buying an older knife, I think that's fantastic. It makes me want to use it a bit more, and I will be carrying this. But nice large Victorinox scissors on the 91. Next up, we have the saw. You see we have that sort of, you see the grind lines on there. So I really like that about the saw. It uses a different finish. There's a little bit of scratching on here, so I imagine it has been used a tiny bit. But judging on the teeth, I mean, if they have used it, it's been very sparingly, because there's no blunted teeth. They're all really sharp and aggressive still. Nice little flat portion at the end here, which stops the teeth wrapping on the handle. So the flat portion would sit on this little bit in here. So if I close it, you can see what I mean. Sits just on there, stops the teeth hitting, and then of course there's no nail neck. You just put your nail in this little gap and you can just pull it open like this. Really good saw, these are the Victorinox ones. I was using one the other day while I was outside doing a couple of bits and pieces, testing some things, and I was pleasantly surprised on how good the Victorinox saw is. Next up, we have the main blade, and you'll see there is quite a bit of wear on this, but Dan's put a wonderful, nice sharp edge on it for me, and screaming sharp. When I say Dan's edges are sharp, he knows how to do his sharpening. So you can see that the blade will be a little bit less length than it normally is. So tip to tang, we're looking at 1 to 2.6, and they're normally about 2.75. So you can see there's a little bit of loss there, and a little bit of loss back here, but there's still plenty on there, and you can see the use on the blade. Look at the scratches on there. Yeah, especially see it there, look. But the thing I love about this is the tang stamp. We'll take a look at those now. So you can see we have the 4-line, Victorinox, Switzerland, Stainless and Rostfrei. And then at the back, we can see we have Victoria, Officer Swiss with a crossbow underneath. And that sort of puts it in that 1957 to 1973 range. So I'm going to hazard a guess this was made some point in the 60s. So that's like the 10-year period really that I think would be a bit easier. So yeah, I do think it's just going to be more than likely going to be a 60s knife. I mean, it could be a 57, it could be a 73, but more than likely I'm going to go with it's going to be in that 1960s range. So the Fieldmaster then, model number for this is 1.4713. The US model number is 53931, and it's very, very closely related to the modern day Huntsman. The only difference being of course, the addition of the parcel hook, and also this would be a corkscrew. But my favorite thing about this that's actually on the knife is the old style pen blade, and it's not a pen blade, it's a nice little clip point blade. Isn't that wonderful? Nice little bit of belly here, nice upswept at the end, and a nice flat portion here for the clip. Quite a shallow nail neck in there, but still easy to open. And again, really nice sharp edge put on there by Dan. Really, really sharp. Blade length for that then, it might be a little bit shorter seeing as it's been sharpened a few times, but we're looking at tip to tang of 1.7 and a cutting edge of 1.6. So very UK legal knife, definitely, and more than likely anywhere you go in the world with this, they're not going to be threatened in the slightest. Everyone sees these here as sort of a multi-tool, which is the way they should be seen, rather than a deadly weapon, because that's not true at all. Anyone that carries these is not out to hurt people, they're out to do their sort of day job, enjoy what they do, use a great bit of kit and a great bit of gear. But this is going to be a pretty much prized possession of my collection. I've really gotten into collecting the older Victorinox stuff now that I've got most of the newer pieces. I've got a couple left to pick up, but my 91mm modern sort of collection, the ones that are still available, is pretty much complete. Same with the 84 and the 58. So really working towards getting these older pieces, and my good friend Dan is actually helping me with that over at Blade Bridge. Please check him out. He's got some fantastic stuff on his website. He's releasing a couple of customs. He's got some really exciting stuff coming soon as well. Some really, really cool customs. Not released yet, but keep an eye. So there we go, guys. That is my review of a vintage 1960s Victorinox Fieldmaster. That model number again is 1.4713, or for the US 53931. I really hope you enjoyed this review. Please be sure to like, subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.